Welcome to another episode of A Servant's Heart podcast, where you will hear about women loving others through service, fun times, helping others, and opportunities to join us ladies of the Statesville Women's Club to also be a servant with heart.
Well, welcome to another podcast episode of A Servant's Heart. And today we've got a member moment with WANDA RUSHTON. So I'm excited about getting to know you a little bit better. And WANDA, you're our current second vice president, right?
That's correct, Shelley.
Wow.
Serving for the third year.
Third year?
I think so.
Yeah.
As second VP.
Yeah. And thank you.
Only because you are our first vice president, I will be our second.
Okay. Well, I always like to be first at a lot of things, but you know how life goes.
Yeah.
This is probably my first opportunity to be first in anything. Well, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So, you're not a Statesville native. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your family.
Well, I am the youngest of two kids, my sister and we grew up in Florence, South Carolina, and moved here in 1989 after I met my wonderful husband of soon-to-be 34 years. So, I'm not sure how long you need to be here to be considered a local, but I think we probably are close.
I think you're really close. I think I'm like 35, and I just go, I'm adopted Statesvillian.
Not a native, but
right.
a local.
Yeah, awesome. So, WANDA, you are a get-it-done type of person. And I know since we're on the board together, we frequently kind of are on the same wavelength.
Exactly.
And as I understand it, you have had 2 careers. Can you tell us about it?
Sure. The long version or the short version?
Whatever.
So, as many of you know, in the club, I am a retired registered nurse and nurse practitioner.
Yeah.
Finished a nursing school in Florence, South Carolina with my associate degree back in 1982. Was working and enjoying single life. Had some friends who encouraged me to go back to school and work on a baccalaureate degree, and we did so. Then those same group of friends encouraged me to work on a master's degree in nursing, which I wasn't terribly fond of the idea because, you'd already been out of school a couple of years. And just short of finishing the master's degree, I became a little bored, maybe a little restless. I was working full-time, doing a little travel, but really deep down, I thought, is this what it is? Is this all there is? We're going to go to work full-time. We're going to do groceries, we're going to do the yard work, we're going to go to church, and then we're going to go back to work again Monday. And I started asking friends, well, what else can I do? And someone said, well, why don't you join the Air Force and go places on the weekend?
Well, that's what I would have thought. I mean, absolutely.
And I said, really? I can join the Air Force and go places? And they were like, absolutely. So,
wow.
1987, I became commissioned as a second lieutenant in the United States Air Force Reserve, performing my unit training assemblies, otherwise called drill duty, in Charleston, South Carolina. So couldn't think of a better place to spend a weekend than Charleston, which was the start of my second career as a flight nurse in an aeromedical evacuation squadron.
Wow.
Brought wonderful opportunities for travel and seeing the world as a young person.
Fascinating.
Yes, it was wonderful. Met so many wonderful people in Charleston, traveled to Germany, traveled to Panama, traveled to the West Coast. Some of these were for the weekend, some of these were for extended periods of time. Little did I know I would continue this journey for 30 years in service in the Air Force and continued in my nursing career. Those women that encouraged me to go back to school to earn a master's degree for what at the time I had no idea.
Right.
But because they were going and they were mentors, I went with them. But it did pave the way for further studies as a nurse practitioner and a shorter course of study, already having pursued the master's degree, which then led me to the real passion, which was diabetes education, care, and service. And just recently retired from diabetes management in 2022.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So retired from the military in 2017 and retired from Novant Healthcare in Winston-Salem in 2022.
Wow. So I call you Colonel.
Yes.
And I think that sometimes when I call you Colonel, the other ladies are thinking it's a joke, but it's not.
Oh, it's no joke.
So we have a Colonel right here.
Yes.
Wow.
God is good. And I would have never dreamed. I would have probably been voted most unlikely to go in the military, and then most unlikely to stay in the military. And surely to goodness, no one would have thought that I would have assumed command and achieved the rank of colonel.
That's huge.
I myself did not even have that as a goal.
That's huge. So, obviously, the dual career and the 30 years in the military has shaped you as a woman. And I know there's got to have been some benefit that you received as a result of serving in the military. And thank you for your service.
Thank you.
That was a lot.
Thank you.
That was
Yes.
a lot.
Well, of course, the benefits are numerous, and I'm so thankful that you asked that question, because I do think that there is a lot of confusion about serving in the military today. And if I had my if I had a vote, I would say that we should send all young people to 4 years of service before they pursue their college studies. I think there is confusion because the benefit of serving the military, they're endless, and you don't have to retire to reap those benefits.
Right.
But of course, the GI Bill is a wonderful opportunity for young students to pursue their college education.
And did you take advantage of that?
Well, I did not, because I was in nursing when hospitals offered tuition assistance and tuition reimbursement. And I was lucky enough to have had my baccalaureate degree, master's degree, and family nurse practitioner studies all covered by hospital, because I was employed full-time and going to school. And it was an employee benefit. So I'm forever grateful to those organizations. One was in Florence, South Carolina. The other one, Catawba Valley Medical Center in Hickory, a great medical center, and just tremendous opportunity afforded to me through those programs. However, serving toward the end of my career as a commander, I had the opportunity to interview all 100 members of our medical group, and did so on a yearly basis. And part of those interviews would disclose what these folks are up to when they're not at our unit training assemblies. It was there that I learned that half of the organization was serving for the benefit of the GI Bill.
For the education aspect.
Especially the younger group, you know, the 18, 19, 21, 22s. Absolutely.
And why not?
And these folks, highly motivated. You know, they are in top physical condition. Obviously, they're law-abiding citizens. You know, they are committed to serving their country, and at the same time, they are receiving college benefits
That's awesome.
for free. And a stipend every month.
Wow.
So many of them did not have to maintain a full-time job. So this is a huge benefit, and I would highly recommend that young folks considering their next step really check into that. Both the Guard and the Reserve offer these benefits.
Wow, that's awesome. So when you came out of not really, you're not coming out of it, but when you're immersed in the military and the medical, I don't you feel like it somehow shaped and molded you as a person? What were some takeaways as far as character or gifts or things that helped you grow during those experiences that have made you who you are now?
Well, there are many, and I'll surely forget, but I will say that I had the opportunity to serve with wonderful mentors, and of course, many of those were women.
Nice.
The nursing corps is largely women, although I would say today it's probably more 50-50 as more men are nurses, and then, of course, men are commissioned as nurses in the service. But I did have the wonderful opportunity to serve under strong nursing mentors, strong women who were great leaders, great teachers. This was true for my entire career. The woman that I replaced as a commander was a very strong woman, maybe all of 5'2", but very powerful, very energetic, a mover and a shaker. And during my time serving as commander, I served under a female wing commander.
Really?
Yes. When I arrived, she was the vice wing commander. And then as I retired, she was the wing commander. One of my best mentors was a general, female general, nurse type first.
Wow.
She was definitely inspirational
I bet.
and helped me get my plan together to move forward in my military career.
Right.
So even in my nursing career, I would say it had to be strong, dedicated, devoted women. Even
Nice.
back in the days of early nursing in Florence, South Carolina, directors of nursing, they were called back then. Today, they're vice presidents of nursing. But moving from that scenario to, for instance, Hickory, Catawba Valley Medical Center, a wonderful, strong director of nursing, vice president for nursing in that organization, the late Marjorie Adams, opened the door for me to begin my journey in diabetes care and education. So part of the takeaway was what I learned watching these very powerful women.
And what was that?
And how they executed their
Oh,
decisions
okay.
and how they ran their meetings and how they prepared for their own trajectory
Right.
and how that cannot be entrusted to anyone else but to you.
Right. Kind of the buck stopped with them, and
Well, folks can help you to a certain point, and then you have to somehow draw on those strengths that you learned from other powerful women that
Right.
you've worked with, be it military or civilian.
Right.
I see the same in our service organization, and I am drawn to how powerful women can be when they come together to serve a
Amen.
purpose.
amen.
You
Yeah.
are an inspiration. Watching you take hold of a project from our president, Dana White, and how impactful you are with the way you execute
Thank
the
you.
planning, the preparation, and the
It's
project
all smoke and
itself.
mirrors. It's all smoke
can't
and
fool
mirrors.
me, Shelley.
It totally is smoke and mirrors.
But part of that is what drives me to continue in the organization
Right.
because how we put on a fundraiser, how do you solicit for money, how do you sell tickets, how do you get on Facebook,
right.
you know, how do you, in another organization, rent a band?
Right.
How do
Right.
you get catering services lined up for a
Right.
gala?
Right.
How do you get giveaways to put in a auction basket?
Right.
These are the things that drive me to continue in service, no matter which one it is, because of the takeaways, because of what I learned from women like you and our president, Dana,
Yeah, Dana's amazing.
and some of the other
She's-
mentors.
She is amazing. So I'm curious. I always want to know what led you to discover the Statesville Women's Club. Obviously, you have been a pretty busy lady. You've been a wife, a mother, a co-worker, a colonel. Good grief. In your spare time, you were interested in the organization, and what was your experience?
This one is a bit of a struggle for me because I've had so many friends over the years in the Statesville Women's Club that I'm having a little difficulty with exactly which friend I credit that to.
Okay.
I was a member of the Junior Service League.
Okay.
A lot of friends in that. And I can remember supporting Statesville Women's Club initiatives even before I became a member.
Okay.
But I'm going to guess maybe a good friend, Mary Beth Cox, who formerly served. She's now living in Greensboro. Fran Baker, who we all know and love, has been a dear friend for many years. Dee Dee Dooley, a dear friend of many years. So I'm going to have to pin it on one of them that probably pulled me in.
And said, hey, you got to check this club out.
Pay your dues and get on board.
Right. Well, that's awesome. So what would you say is the most memorable accomplishment or club project that you've participated in?
Right. Probably the most memorable was when I sent my high school son to purchase brassieres for the for the bra collection. I've told that story before, and
I love it.
He would
Why not?
hate this moment. But, you know, when you're so very busy and you're driving up and down the interstate coming and going to work, and you're like, oh, no, is that bra collection tonight?
Uh-oh.
Okay, ring-a-ling-a-ling. I called my oldest one because he had a driver's license.
Is that the one that wasn't calling you back? No, okay.
He answered the phone this day to his chagrin. And I said, you must go down to Family Dollar and purchase, I don't know, $20 worth of women's brassieres and underwear, and you must have it at the house when I get there at 5 o'clock because I must take it to the women's club tonight for this collection. And he is like, Mom, this has to be criminally offensive for you to make me do this. And I said, oh, and when you go, buy some of the larger sizes because I'm sure a lot of people are going to buy the little, you know, minis.
The cute stuff?
Yeah, so buy the extra large.
The practical ones. The bloomers, if necessary.
I always enjoyed the bra collection. On a serious note, I would say big program, small program. The small program that had the big impact on me was the Red Cart collection.
Right.
To end poverty, end period poverty.
Yeah.
By donating menstruation supplies for the high schools to avail to the girls in school.
It gives me chills right now because, and we haven't forsaken the Red Cart Project.
No.
And for those of you that don't know about it, it was started in the schools. And can you believe that there are literally, it was middle schoolers that were facing being expelled because of absenteeism.
Exactly.
And so when they started researching why are these young ladies not making it to class, it was because they were having their monthly and they didn't have products.
Yes. And, you know, we learned of this in a club meeting, and I remember that day how shocked the membership was that this was a real problem facing.
We're saying this is what I think it was 2022, 2021, 2022 when we had that presentation.
So that day, you know, it moved me as it did many women in the club, but sadly, I missed the donation. Somehow, it wasn't until January when our president and I were writing reports of what we had done in the past year that it hit me that I missed the donation. I was so moved by that project in the beginning and then felt such remiss for missing the donation. I left her home. I went to the store. I made purchases, and I took them to the local United Way office and said exactly what I'm saying to you. I missed the donation, and here I am today to put these items in front of you, and would you please see that they get to where they need to be? And of course, the United Way representative, Rob Collier, said he would do so.
Good.
So this is a project that we became aware of, and we made an impact, and we will continue to do that.
Absolutely.
On a larger scale, the preservation campaign for the historic clubhouse that we kicked off in November of 2022. This was a capital campaign kickoff.
Yep.
This has been a memorable project because of the way our organization came together. All hands on deck.
It really was.
Everybody who
was.
could pitched in, and we made a difference. You know, this was a successful campaign with the help of club members, with the support of this community and sponsorship. And it proved to me that we can make a difference. And we are charged with maintaining this wonderful clubhouse so that this community can enjoy what was built and made possible for us.
Right.
And we're charged with continuing that.
Yeah.
So huge project.
Great. Well, as first VP, I appreciate the second VP joining us, and I look forward to serving another term with you.
Absolutely.
And I think I can speak for the entire club in expressing our appreciation for your willingness to bring your character, life experience, skill set to really empower and accomplish great things here at the Statesville Women's Club.
Well, thank you,
So
Shelley.
Thank you for joining me today for that. And next up is a Zoom interview with Kim Fulcher, who is the North Carolina GFWC NC, I got it right, president, and she's going to be doing the Federation Focus Spot. Well, joining us now is Kim Fulcher, our current GFWC North Carolina president. Thank you, Kim, for taking time to meet with us for our Federation Focus segment.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, let's start off. Kim, tell us a little bit about how you discovered the Women's Club.
Sure. I'd be happy to share this. It was really very simple. I had a friend of mine from church who invited me to come to a meeting. At the time, I was in my early 30s. I had 2 small children. Outside of work and church, I really didn't have a very large group of friends. And so this was a great way for me to meet young women such as myself. It was exciting, but I was also a little nervous to know if they were going to like me, if I would be able to fit in, and more importantly, would I be able to participate in their activities? Because I did have small children, and I had a husband, and I had a dog, so it's a lot to take care of, along with a full-time job. So one of the many great things about the organization itself is the flexibility that we have. You know, we've got a lot of members are kind of like, you know, the ebb and flow of an ocean. Some years you're going to be able to have plenty of time to do things, and other years you're just going to have to back off and do a little bit less. So it just really depends on your situation. And that's one thing that we do pride ourselves on across the state is having the ability to give people the opportunities to do what they can whenever they want to and whenever they're able to do it. It really is, you know, having people doing a lot at one time as well as doing not so much at other times are just equally important to GFWC of North Carolina. We want women of all abilities to be in our organization.
Right. So you went from a new member, just kind of, I guess, dipping your feet in the water because you had a lot of responsibilities at home and work, obviously, to president of North Carolina. So can you share what your journey to your current position look like?
Sure. I've been a member of the Federation of Women's Clubs of North Carolina for about 20 years now. So, and I started out as a junior member, as I mentioned earlier. I was asked to have a couple different roles there. I was assistant treasurer. I did the vice president of reporting, which you all know was very involved once a year. And then I was also president of the Junior Women's Club as well. And then I was asked to be on the junior board of the state, which is the GFWC of North Carolina Junior Board. I was the recording secretary there for 2 years. And that position really kind of opened my eyes up to the broad spectrum of the Federation, both the state federation as well as the national federation, or international rather, because really you on the state board, you actually have a lot of interactions with other people across the U.S. That was really exciting for me. I was also the chairman for the Advocates for Children, which is a state position, still as a junior, so that gave me another role on the state board. I was also went on, actually, I guess when I graduated, if you want to call it that, when I turned 45, you graduate into the Women's Club.
Oh.
And I joined the Women's Club of Raleigh, and there I was the membership recruitment chairman. I did membership retention as well. I became the district president, which actually for District 6, which was a wonderful opportunity for me. It really was an eye-opening experience for me to be able to visit clubs and get to know more members across the state. It was really a lot of fun. When my children were a little bit busier with swimming, I did scale back just a bit, but I still served GFWC of North Carolina as the fundraising chairman for the state for 2 years, and I also did conventions and meetings chairman for actually for 2 administrations, which was a lot of fun. So I knew I wanted to continue to participate in some way, so I just found ways that I could continue to serve within my abilities as far as my time management. So I was able to do that. As time went on, I was asked to serve as a recording secretary for the state federation for the GFWC of North Carolina Executive Board. And then after that, I became president-elect. And now, of course, I'm president. So I have done a variety of jobs, as you can see. But most important thing to remember is that everyone's path to anywhere is their own. And they're all different.
Right.
We do have requirements for certain positions on the state level. But if you're interested in any of those, just check out the bylaws in the administration book. It kind of gives you an overview of what if you have something that you aspire to do, what you may want to consider doing along your path and along your journey.
Nice. So in our first episode, we learned the foundation of the Women's Club, and that it was basically founded to empower and elevate women. So on that level, how was your participation, or how has your participation in the Women's Club impacted you personally?
Personally, I would say the biggest thing is I've gained more confidence in myself. I mean, it has impacted me in several different ways, but I think the confidence that I've learned to be successful, in many different ways. It's not easy for any of us to be confident in yourself, but I think my personality is to be a people pleaser, and so I never want to hurt anybody's feelings. And so in certain positions, as the one I'm right now, you really have to be careful about what you do. You've got to be conscientious of your actions, and although you may not realize, it's probably not when you're in your no, let me take that back. I don't want to say that on the news, but I think whenever you're trying to be careful about people's feelings, but at the same time, you also want to be conscientious of your actions. And I tend to repeat a very smart piece of advice that I learned from Juanita Bryant, who we all know and love, who told me one time, make your decision and stick with it. And I really think that is a very definitive thing to remember all the time. It's hard to please everybody, but the decisions you just have to make sometimes are hard, but you do have to do that. So I've learned to become more confident in my abilities to do that, and as far as being successful. I use the leadership skills that I've learned and apply them to my everyday life.
That's
remember being a leader, is not always being about the one in control. It's about making your team better and empowering them to be the best that they can be. And that's hard, hard to remember, because you always want to make sure that everyone that you're working with is doing the best that they can.
Right.
It holds true at work. It holds true in your family. You want your employees to do the best that they can do. You want your children to be the best that you can do. Give them the skill set, teach them to do what they can, give them room to grow and to become better people. They've got to learn by their mistakes, and that sort of empowers them to want to be successful as well.
That's great. Yeah. So as president, I understand you have a special project that you've developed. Tell us about that.
Yes, our special project is the Mountains to Sea Trail of North Carolina. And I kind of stumbled upon that based off of my overall theme, which is from the mountains to the sea, we are GFWC NC. And I really wanted to embrace the entire state. I wanted to engage all of our members, whether it was not based on their ability, not based on their age or their means. I wanted something that everybody could participate in. And at the time, 2 years ago, when I was thinking of this plan, we were still coming out of the pandemic, and people were still sheltering at home. So I wanted to bring people out and bring them together. So I kind of wanted to come up with something that would be get everybody outdoors, which of course the Mountains and Sea Trail does that. So it literally does run from the mountains to the sea, and it really has brought everybody together. So you can, if you live on the trail or live near the trail, you can access it. You can clean up there. You can become a trail angel. If you don't live nearby one, you can still work at the streams near your own hometown. You can clean up parks near your hometown. There's a variety of things you can do that still incorporates the Mountain Sea Trail across the state. And our overall goal is to raise money for the Trailhead Kiosk, which we hope to have several of those that are going to go along the trail that will announce and will show that the GFWC of North Carolina Club Women have purchased these fabulous things for the trail.
So you're still working on funding the travel kiosk then?
Yes, we are. We have another year of funding. We have raised a good amount of money so far, but the more that we raise, the more that we can actually purchase. So we're hoping to be able to, to build and establish many of them across the state. So that would be great publicity for GFWC of North Carolina.
Yes, it would. Yeah, and we do have some beautiful mountains and seashores for North Carolina. So what kind of innovations do you see for the future of GFWC NC, if any?
Goodness, you got me on a good one there.
I did, didn't I?
I think we really need innovating. We're trying to incorporate more publicity. We want to get our name out there. We want to become more known, not only in the state, but across the U.S. I think you have a lot of other organizations that are very well known. And I think although we're known in North Carolina, not everybody has heard of us. And I think getting us out there to become more visible, trying to continue to improve technology, and to really just make our members be the best that they can be,
right?
And in every facet of their lives,
right.
And trying to volunteer and unity and diversity, which is what we always strive for. So.
Yeah, love that. So, I mean, that's kind of one of the reasons why we're doing the podcast, and it's to bring technology. This is 2023 after all, but it's such a wonderful way to get the message of the Women's Club out there to those that are interested and wanting to learn more. So what's up next for you after your term is over in 2024? You taking a long vacation, or you've been pretty busy?
I probably will not take a long vacation. I will take a little bit of time off. With working and stuff, I'll still have that going. But I stay pretty busy. I love to volunteer. I love the Federation. I may participate on the international level. So that might be the next step for me, something small there. But I will always remain with GFWC North Carolina in some fashion. It has taught me so much, and it's been so close to my heart for so many years. I could never truly walk away from it, and I wouldn't want to. So we'll see what happens after next April.
Right. Well, I really thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us. It's great to meet you and to get to know you a bit. I'm sure all the club women are going to really enjoy watching the podcast and hearing what you have to say. And hopefully this discussion will empower and encourage club women all over North Carolina to embark on their own journeys toward leadership service, such as what you've done here. So thanks again. And I hope you have a great day.
Thank you. You do as well.
Okay.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, that was a great interview with Kim Fulcher, and I appreciate Kim stopping by via Zoom on her vacation. And now, Wanda, you did a great interview with SARA KIVETT. She's doing the Women Making a Difference, sharing about her recent loss. So let's go to that.
Sure. It's a moving story. Thank you, Shelley. Welcome to our next segment, Women Making a Difference. Today, I'm joined with SARA KIVETT, longtime friend. I knew Sarah and Steve from many years ago. Yes. We spent many nights in Statesville Senior High Stadium watching soccer games, some better than others.
That's right.
Some better climate than others.
That's right.
Sarah met her husband, Steve, on the job. at Iredell Memorial Hospital, and they were married in 1986. Sarah now works at hospice and palliative care in Iredell County. She has 3 children and 5 grandchildren.
I do.
Congratulations.
Good, thank you.
Today, Sarah joins us to talk about her experience, her insight, and her revelations as she dealt with the sudden death of Steve, who was loved and adored by this community. This happened in 2020. Sarah is here today because she's hopeful that she can equip and encourage and prepare us to navigate through the end-of-life journey that is inevitable for all of us. So, Sarah, welcome. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Shelley. I feel like it's very important for us to have this conversation. This is something that, as you mentioned, is going to happen to all of us. Our stories can be a little bit different from person to person, but a loss is, we can only prepare so much, but I feel like it's important to share my story because it was a sudden death. It wasn't something that I went to work that day and felt like I was going to come home and find my world completely changed. And so I want to share that, and any little pearls that people can take when they find themselves in a journey like this, I hope can be very helpful.
Well, we are so grateful that you're willing to open your heart and tell the story. You wanted to start with a statistic.
I did. I think it's very interesting that you will find that the United States Census says that the average age of a widow in our country is 59 years old. Wow. I think that we think of widows as being much older.
Sure.
But 59 years old is very ironic because that's the exact age I was when Steve died. So I wanted to start off with that because I think that needs to get us thinking that it is very important for us to have conversations with each other and with our family members because you never know when something is going to happen. I got up one morning. It was a Friday morning. I got up to go to work. Steve retired. He had retired about a couple of years before he died. And I was still working. And so I got up that morning to go to work. And he and the dog, her name was Mia, always just sat on the porch and said goodbye. Have a great day. He asked me what I wanted for dinner. It was just a very regular morning, and I went to work. He had an appointment with his cardiologist at 11:45 that day, just as a routine visit.
Okay.
It was just scheduled. You know, it was during the COVID time, and if you remember, inpatient in person visits were kind of, if you're not really sick, you don't come, or you're doing video visits, or if you're feeling okay, let's just put it off a while. And so his previous appointment had been put off because all of that was going on, and we were okay with that.
Understandable.
Yeah, he didn't have any problems. We weren't, anticipating anything. So he said, "Yeah, just put me off to July," and so that was the appointment time that he had. Went on to work about 8:30 that morning. Came home about 5:15, and the lawnmower was in the yard sitting there. About half the yard was mowed. And I thought that was odd. And I thought, well, he's probably ran out of gas.
Sure.
He's just probably run out of gas.
Likely assumption.
Exactly. So I drove on up the driveway, and our carport sits behind our house. Drove up and toward pulling in. And my dear husband was sitting in his chair. And as being a nurse, I could tell that he had died many, many hours before. And so it was just a shock. a real shock. I don't really know what other word to say. Fast forward a little bit, we found out that our neighbor and his son was out riding his bike, and it's a wonderful family. Steve just loved those kids, and he had stopped the lawnmower to talk to him, and it was about 10:30, and the dad was in his yard waving to Steve. Everything was fine. Talked just fine. He said he was walking up the driveway. That was about 10:30, and Steve never made it to his 11:45 appointment. Oh. So it was going from mowing the yard, talking to the neighbors, to not making it to his appointment.
Wow.
So I had those times coming up. I started to understand what PTSD was like. Had difficulty driving up the driveway.
Oh, of course.
Had difficulty pulling into the carport. Our dog had to be put on medicine. She couldn't sleep. She slept all the time. Tried to just stay in Steve's bathroom. Just laid there.
Yeah.
So it was a very, very difficult time. For everyone. So that gives you a little background of the story. But one of the things that from that point on that I had to really come to terms with was that, okay, what do I do now?
Yeah.
What happens now?
Of course.
I have a really good friend who's an attorney, and Steve and I and her husband had done many things together, and she had had a conversation with Steve, and when we were eating dinner, and we actually talked about getting things together now that our kids are older, and what do you do about that, and she and Steve had this wonderful relationship, and those of you who remember Steve, he liked to banter back and forth a lot, And so the two of them would banter back and forth, and he'd say, oh, don't worry, I got things all together for her. She's not going to have to worry about anything. I've got all these folders. So when Steve died, she said, gather the folders and bring them to me, and let's sit down and we'll get everything in order, which I was very thankful for. There were no folders.
No folders.
There were no folders. Mm-hmm. So my friend said, he was just trying to shut me up, wasn't he? So we didn't have that conversation, part of the bantering. So I truly believe
probably also
that
part of let's don't have to have that conversation.
Let's don't have to have that conversation.
There. Yeah.
But I think that was his plan, was to have folders. Uh-huh. I really do, because, okay, I'm retired now. I can sit down. I can start doing this. I'm going to have folders. So instead of saying, I'm going to have folders, he just said, yeah, I got folders, kind of thing. But never had the opportunity to actually fill the folders.
So how did things progress under these circumstances?
Well, after having a few meltdowns of, because I didn't have any folders.
Right.
I will tell you that I did not like finances. I don't do finances.
Right.
I never have. When we first got married, for 6 months, he had me to do all the finances because he really thought I needed to be able to do that. He wanted me to, stand on my own, be able to do that. I don't know who was more miserable, him or me. I didn't like it.
I think he talked to my husband about this.
Did he?
He must have, because we had the same relationship. And it probably lasted about 6 months.
Yeah,
and then I never carried the checkbook again.
Yeah, I just didn't like it, And so we had this wonderful setup. He would sit down periodically, okay, we're paying this, you need to back off on this. And it worked very well for us. I know that people now do not do finances maybe that way, but for my generation, our generation, how we looked at things, it worked very well for us. So I had to start really looking at each individual bill that we had, and what did I need to do with that? I will give you an example of our phone, internet, TV, those type things. It was all in Steve's name because I don't know if you realize it, but you can't have two names on some of these things. Okay. So that was our email. That was all. We had one email address. It was very simple, KIVETT@bellsouth.net. No numbers, no anything, just very simple. That was just the one that we used. That bill was in Steve's name. So to get all of that switched over into my name had to be a whole new account. I had to pay the new starter fee for a new account. I had to get a new email address because that was considered the other account, someone else's account. That did not include, and I give that example because that should have been something very simple. That really was a huge headache.
Can imagine, because it is a major form of conversation, communication, and a method of doing business.
Absolutely. And so everything had to change from that. That took weeks and weeks. So there were little things like that that became a very big headache that you don't think about. So what would I do about that differently? I'm not real sure if that's something you can do differently. I share that one because you don't really realize what little things can cause really big problems. I tell people that moving our retirement things into one account was easier than getting my email straightened out.
That is sad.
Isn't that sad?
That's
is
a major disappointment.
It is a major disappointment, and it's not things that would never have occurred to me.
And this is critical: your internet, your email, your telephone service.
Exactly.
Oh.
What other
lessons did you learn along the way?
Well, I think that giving myself a little grace along the way. I felt like I needed to. I've worked since I was 16 years old. I have been what I consider very independent. I could take care of myself, but when you have a partner, when you do all this together, and then you really are taking this on, finding that inner strength. As a nurse, you would think that I would probably think about this differently, but I am a real component now of breathing exercises and yoga for inner strength. I didn't think that was something I really needed along the way. I was, pretty self-sufficient, doing my little thing. But it is amazing what giving yourself some grace, some time, and finding your inner strength really is very, very important to do. The other thing is to have your conversation with your spouse now. Don't put off, I'm going to get those folders together.
Right.
Sit down and get those folders together.
So in other words, turn off Netflix.
Turn off Netflix, have that conversation.
Sit at the kitchen table
and get those folders together.
Work it out.
Absolutely. Just trying to remember, what do you take care of that I don't take care of, and what maybe I need to know about.
Exactly.
Review those folders. Review periodically what you were doing, how you were paying for that, what is on automatic pay and what is not. And I I didn't even think about looking at that until it started coming out of the account, and it was going, whoa, 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 where'd that come from? But having those conversations and going ahead and not being afraid to have that conversation, I think is very important.
And would you happen to have a recommendation on an expert that a couple might need to utilize or seek the service of?
If you already have a financial planner, we have one that we started talking with back when we worked at Iredell Memorial years and years ago, and have been very consistent with him. His office is actually in Charlotte, but he would come up to the hospital and help employees get started with understanding retirement as they were very young. And so we have kept with him. And I can email him and say, I'm not really sure what I should do about this. This is what's come up. And having someone that understands everything that you have is very important.
And establishing that relationship.
Relationship. And I worry about people now who do all of their own investments and try to do all this stuff on their own. I'm sure there's very positives to that, and people are very, and I don't understand it as much, but I know that would have been very difficult for me to not have that advice as to what to do when I found myself in that situation.
That's a very helpful point.
Yeah.
Now, I also understand that your children, your adult children, jokingly talk about your ministry of talking to women or men about being prepared for the sudden death of their spouse. Can you tell us about those conversations?
Well, one of the things my younger son, when I was trying to figure all this out, he would call me up. He does not live here in Statesville, and he would call me up, and I'd say, I don't know if I've got this paid. I think I've got that paid. And he said, are your lights still on, Mom? And I'd say, yeah. He said, then I think you're okay. You know, if your lights are still on, they've not come to repossess your car. You know, yeah, I think you're okay. Just try not to worry about it. And it would, you know, to try to put a little lighter side on it. And it was like, yeah, well, my lights are still on. I guess I'm okay.
Okay for today.
I'm okay for today. They've not cut anything off. But to again give yourself grace, help other people to understand that you can be strong, you can go through all the different stages of grief and bounce back and forth between those stages. The anger stage, I've gone through that a few times, but then the memories that you have are extremely important. The stories, and for those of you who may know someone who may be going through a loss, one of my biggest fears was that people would forget Steve. You know, I didn't want them to forget Steve. And he had a few friends that have established, and some of you may have either contributed or have heard about this, that there is a scholarship fund at Mitchell, because Steve was the first male nursing student to graduate from Mitchell. It was Davis School of Nursing at the time. He was a medic in the Army, and when he got out of the Army, he went to nursing school on the GI Bill. And
he's since then established a scholarship.
The scholarship, that's exactly right. And so, you know, that's...
Or the Friends of Steve.
The Friends of Steve did that, which was very meaningful to me, for people to not forget him. But the other thing, if you have a friend that would be in my situation, I think, at the beginning, there's so many things that we do. We send a lot of cards, we make calls, but then as the months go by, I have found now, Wanda, that when I have someone who is close to me or know someone who has had a loss, I send a card, but then I jot down, and about 3 months later, I send another card. Oh. Because that is when things have calmed down and you really start wondering, have they forgotten that Steve died? Oh. Kind of thing.
It's so important
it is
for all
so
of us
important.
To hear.
And I think that delayed those little cards that came trickling in as people heard about it was very, very important and very supportive. So I encourage people to do that. If you have someone, what can I do for her is send some delayed cards, and snail mail is okay.
Yeah. It's great advice.
Texting is good, but having that card in those times is very meaningful.
Thank you for that advice.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, because we are all in a position to share our love of those that we've known that have gone before us. That's great advice. So, remarkably, you sound great. How has this changed you for the better? I know as a nurse, and we're both nurses, we've studied the stages of grief.
And you don't remember any of that.
Well, we've studied them more times than one, and we have recommended yoga, and we recommend breathing and deep breathing exercises and exercise in general. But how has this strengthened you as a woman and as a mother and a grandmother?
I think that it has really had me to draw on my faith. It has really, before you think, okay, I'm going to turn that over. Have you heard that phrase? I'm going to turn that over to God, or I'm just going to turn that over. I'm not going to worry about that. I have used that phrase in the past pretty flippantly, but through this experience, that has become very meaningful, and I have tried very hard to actually do that. Because as nurses, we are fixers. Right. We want to fix everything. Each one of my children have experienced their grief a little bit differently. It's been at different stages, and I have really wanted to try to fix that and help them through that. But I can't. That's their own journey.
And you've come to realize that.
And I've come to realize that. And even though it's 3 years this month since Steve died, there are still times of grief that I experience and that they experience. And but each one of us are on our own journey for that. And I can't be on their journey and they can't be on mine, but we can support each other through that.
Well, we are very grateful that you've been able to open your heart and talk with us.
I'm honored to. I just hope that there's something that, even if it's just one little pearl or two, that maybe can help someone else listening through this, that will be helpful in someone's journey.
And it is very inspirational to hear you say that your walk with faith has strengthened.
Absolutely.
It is our prayer always that someone will grow closer to God through a tragedy like you've experienced. So to hear you speak of that,
absolutely,
it's very inspirational, motivational for us.
Well, it really is turning things over to God, and how do you do that? Because as I said, we just want to fix things.
That's exactly right.
And there are things that we can't fix. Yeah.
Do you have any closing remarks that you'd like to make?
Well, it's an honor to be here. Thank you, and for all the work that y'all have done. I hope that my story can help as many people as possible, and to take that a little bit further with whoever may need that, and to understand that grief is a journey and loss is a journey.
Absolutely. Well, you are an inspiration to us,
Well,
and I'm
thank
sure
you.
to your family and to your colleagues and to your patients as you continue in your profession of nursing. And, we just thank you for coming as a woman to share your story to make a difference in the lives of other people, women and men. And we thank you for joining us today. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Shelley.
Well, that interview with Sarah, Wanda, was amazing. And I appreciate you doing the interview with Sarah. So we're going to wrap up the Women Making a Difference segment. And I'm going to talk a little bit real quickly about our back to school project, supply collection. And we are collecting school supplies, and they're going to go to the Boys and Girls Club of the Piedmont over there on off Cochran Street. We did this last year. We're collecting now through Monday, July 31st. And thank you, Wanda, for sourcing our big blue bin at the clubhouse. It's right out front, y'all. So here's Leanne Cheryl has put us together this little flyer, and it tells us what we need to buy. But love on someone else by stopping by Dollar Tree or wherever and picking up some school supplies.
And Shelley, I really appreciate the way you've launched this project, allowing the community the opportunity to just
Participate.
walk up
Yeah.
and drop these items
Right.
into the bin.
It couldn't be easier.
Exactly.
Right.
And hopefully this will set the stage for us to do more community service collections through this methodology. So hats off to you
Thank
for
you.
your great ideas.
Thank you. Okay, so then the next opportunity is be a shopping buddy. And you're going to say, what in the world? So YMCA, part of their Bright Beginnings program, which is tied in with the Bridge Academy. And by the way, our Taste of Iredell coming up in October, is a portion of the proceeds are going to benefit the Bridge Academy. So these participants need, some shopping buddies. So there's this little QR code. You can go and just do a little screenshot of that, or go on the WISE website. You can go on our Facebook page. Leanne has posted that. Or you can just email us and say, hey, I want to be a shopping buddy. It doesn't cost anything but a little time, 8 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., and you just show up at the Y. And they even give you a ride over to Walmart.
Yeah.
They give you a gift card, so they give you the money. And what a beautiful way of sharing some of your time and love with another little person that needs a buddy.
So how exactly does the buddy work out?
Well, the thing is they just need boots on the ground, Wanda. Just a shopper. Now, honestly, if you wanted to donate, there's another way to do that too. I don't have that on the background, but yeah. So basically, it doesn't cost you any money. Just show up, and you'd show up at the Y, and you get on the bus, and they take you over there, and then you take your little buddy around, and you buy some clothes and some school supplies, and
So the adult serves to guide and direct the
right.
student as to
That's
what they
right.
might need and
That's
what they
right.
should think about
Right.
to best utilize the funds.
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
perfect.
No
That's
different than
wonderful.
what we would have done with our own children.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that's the last opportunity. And sign up. The date is August 5th. So sign up before, please. If you have any questions, give us a shout out on Facebook, and we'll connect you. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of A Servant's Heart.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to A Servant's Heart, sponsored by the Statesville Women's Club. We are located at 515 West End Avenue, Statesville. To contact us, you can email us at statesvillewomansclub@gmail.com or call 704-761-8208. Our website is statesvillewomansclub.org. Remember, that's Statesville Women's Club with an A.org.